The moment you stop running from your darkest parts is the moment you become truly unstoppable. For too long, society has told you to hide what feels shameful, angry, or broken inside. But Carl Jung, the father of modern psychology, saw something radically different. Your shadow, the parts of yourself you reject or deny, is not your enemy. It is your greatest source of hidden power. Most people live in constant conflict with their shadow without even knowing it. They push down feelings of anger, jealousy, fear, or sadness because they've been told these emotions are bad or weak. But Jung warned that when you deny these parts of yourself, you give them control over your life in sneaky, destructive ways. Your shadow can cause self-sabotage, inner turmoil, and repeated patterns that keep you stuck. What if, instead of fighting your shadow, you invited it in? What if you saw it as a fierce ally rather than a shameful enemy? Jung called this process embracing the shadow. It means accepting all parts of yourself, not just the ones you're proud of. This is the gateway to becoming unstoppable because it frees you from the hidden chains of denial and fear. Imagine living without hiding. Imagine harnessing the full spectrum of your emotions, your desires, and your instincts to fuel your growth. When you embrace your shadow, you unlock a deep well of courage, creativity, and resilience that no one can take away. But this path is not easy. It demands brutal honesty and courage to face what you've been avoiding. You have to meet the parts of yourself that scare you the most and learn to love them anyway. In this video, we'll explore what the shadow truly is, why so many people fear it, and how embracing it can make you unstoppable. If you're ready to stop running and start transforming, keep watching. Your shadow begins forming early in life, often in childhood, as a survival mechanism. From the moment we enter the world, we are taught, either directly or indirectly, which parts of ourselves are acceptable and which are not. You learn to hide your anger because it scares others. You suppress your sadness because it makes people uncomfortable. You bury your impulses, your desires, your quirks, all to fit in and be loved. This early conditioning creates a split inside your psyche. The parts of you that don't align with the expectations of family, society, or culture get pushed into the unconscious. Over time, these hidden parts accumulate, forming the shadow, a repository of everything rejected, feared, or misunderstood. But here's the paradox. The more you deny your shadow, the more power it holds over you. It influences your thoughts, behaviors, and emotions without you realizing it. It can show up as sudden outbursts of anger, unexplained sadness, or irrational fears. It can drive you to self-destructive habits or toxic relationships, Jung called this phenomenon the shadow projection. When you refuse to see your own darkness, you project it onto others. You judge, criticize, or fear qualities in others that you secretly harbor yourself. This projection creates conflict in your relationships and keeps you trapped in patterns of blame and resentment. Recognizing that the shadow is not someone else's problem but your own is a crucial turning point. It invites you to stop pointing fingers and start looking inward. This is where true healing begins. Why is embracing the shadow so powerful? Because it's the door to reclaiming parts of yourself that you need to be whole. Your shadow holds creativity, intuition, courage, and vitality, all the fuel for living a rich, authentic life. When you accept your shadow, you stop being a victim of unconscious forces. You become the master of your inner world, and that mastery spills out into every aspect of your life: relationships, work, health, and personal fulfillment. But how do you begin this daunting journey? How do you face parts of yourself you've feared for so long? In the next part, we'll explore practical ways to meet your shadow safely and begin the transformative process of integration. The first step in embracing your shadow is creating space for honest self-reflection. This means setting aside time to look within without judgment or avoidance. It's natural to resist this because the shadow often carries emotions we've long buried: shame, anger, fear. But remember, Avoidance only strengthens the shadows. Hold. One powerful method Jung recommended is journaling. Start by writing freely about moments when you felt triggered or reactive. Ask yourself, what part of me is afraid right now? What am I avoiding? Don't censor or rationalize. Let your thoughts flow naturally. Over time, these reflections reveal patterns and hidden feelings that your conscious mind often misses. Another essential practice is observing your emotional reactions to others. Notice who triggers intense feelings like anger, jealousy, or contempt. These strong reactions often signal shadow projections, qualities in yourself that you haven't accepted yet. Instead of pushing these feelings away, ask yourself, what does this reveal about me? Meditation and mindfulness can help you stay present with uncomfortable emotions rather than running from them. Sit quietly and observe your thoughts and feelings like a witness, without trying to change them. This gentle awareness reduces the fear around shadow material and allows it to surface safely. Therapy or working with a trusted guide can be invaluable on this path. A skilled therapist helps you navigate difficult emotions and unconscious material with support and compassion, preventing overwhelm or re-traumatization. As you explore your shadow, it's important to cultivate self-compassion. Remember, the parts you reject are often wounds that developed for survival. They are part of your story, not your shame. Integration is the ultimate goal, not just seeing your shadow, but embracing it as part of your wholeness. This means making peace with your flaws and contradictions, and understanding that your darkness holds gifts. For example, anger, often feared and suppressed, can become a powerful force for setting boundaries and creating change. Fear can sharpen your intuition and alert you to danger. Sadness deepens your capacity for empathy and connection. When you accept these shadow qualities, you reclaim their energy for your benefit instead of letting them control you unconsciously. This integration is what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming your fullest self. It leads to emotional resilience, authenticity, and inner freedom. In the next part, we will look at how embracing your shadow transforms your relationships and opens the door to profound personal power. When you begin to embrace your shadow, the first and most noticeable changes often show up in your relationships. Why? Because much of the conflict and pain we experience with others comes from shadow projections, when we unconsciously attribute our hidden fears, anger, or insecurities onto them. Imagine you're quick to judge or criticize someone for being too controlling or too emotional. Often this is a mirror reflecting something within you that you haven't accepted yet. When you bring awareness to these projections, you start to take responsibility for your own feelings instead of blaming others. This shift doesn't just ease conflict, it deepens connection. When you accept your whole self, including the parts you once rejected, you become more honest and vulnerable with those around you. Vulnerability is the foundation of true intimacy, and embracing your shadow gives you the courage to be real. It also helps you set healthier boundaries. Many people struggle to say no or stand up for themselves because they fear rejection or judgment. But when you integrate your shadow, you recognize that your needs and feelings matter. You stop people-pleasing out of fear and start honoring your own truth. This newfound authenticity is magnetic. Others sense when you are whole and self-accepting, and it draws them in. You no longer need to perform or seek approval, freeing you to build relationships based on genuine connection rather than facade. Embracing your shadow also unlocks a deep well of personal power. When you stop fighting your inner darkness, you reclaim the energy it once consumed. That energy fuels creativity, confidence, and resilience. You become unstoppable because you operate from a place of wholeness, not fragmentation. This power isn't about controlling others or dominating situations. It's a quiet strength that comes from knowing and accepting all parts of yourself. It gives you clarity in decision-making, courage in the face of fear, and peace amid life's storms. But beware, this process is ongoing. The shadow is not a one-time discovery, but a lifelong companion. New layers will reveal themselves as you grow, and each time, you get a chance to deepen your integration and power. In the final part, we'll explore how to maintain this shadow, work and harness its power for a truly unstoppable life. Maintaining your relationship with your shadow is an ongoing journey, not a quick fix. Life will continually challenge you by stirring up hidden fears and old wounds, but each challenge is an opportunity to deepen your understanding and strengthen your integration. One of the most important tools for sustaining shadow work is consistent self-awareness. Make it a daily practice to check in with yourself. Notice your emotions, your reactions, and the stories your mind tells you. When you catch yourself slipping into denial or judgment, gently bring your attention back to acceptance and curiosity. Remember, embracing your shadow doesn't mean you become perfect or without flaws. It means you honor your full humanity, the light and the dark, the strengths and the weaknesses, the triumphs and the mistakes. This wholeness gives you true freedom. You'll find that as you integrate your shadow, fear loses its grip. You start taking bold actions aligned with your authentic self because you are no longer held hostage by hidden doubts or suppressed desires. You become unstoppable in the truest sense, not because life becomes easy, but because you face it with unwavering courage and self-love. Surround yourself with supportive people who encourage your growth and respect your journey. Engage in practices that ground you. Meditation, creative expression, movement, or therapy. These help you stay connected to your inner world and maintain balance. The transformation that comes from embracing your shadow is profound. It frees you from the exhausting cycle of pleasing others at the cost of your own soul. It empowers you to live fully, speak your truth, and step into your unique power. Carl Jung believed that the greatest tragedy is to live only half a life, to remain divided, hiding parts of yourself in fear or shame. When you choose to face your shadow, you choose to live fully and fiercely. So ask yourself, are you ready to stop running? Are you ready to become unstoppable by embracing every part of who you are? This journey is not for the faint-hearted, but for those willing to walk through the fire of their own darkness to discover the light within. When you embrace your shadow, you don't just survive, you thrive. You become a force of nature, unstoppable and whole. When you fully embrace your shadow, you unlock an inner alchemy that transforms pain into power, fear into courage, and limitation into boundless potential. This is no mere philosophical idea. It's a profound, psychological truth. Carl Jung spent his entire life exploring. The shadow is not simply darkness. It is a wellspring of untapped energy, raw creativity, and deep wisdom waiting for you to claim it. In this part, we'll dive deeper into what this transformation looks like in real life, how to navigate its challenges, and how to consciously cultivate this unstoppable force from within. One of the most misunderstood aspects of shadow work is the emotional intensity it can unleash. When you begin to face the parts of yourself that have been suppressed or denied, you might experience waves of discomfort, guilt, shame, anger, grief, or anxiety. These emotions are natural and necessary signals that you are healing. Think of it like a river dammed up for decades suddenly breaking free. The flood of emotion can feel overwhelming, but it is the cleansing floodwaters clearing your inner landscape. Resisting or running from these feelings only prolongs your suffering. Instead, learn to sit with them. Allow yourself to feel without judgment or resistance. Practice compassionate witnessing. Observe your emotions as a curious friend rather than a harsh critic. Ask, what is this feeling trying to tell me? What old story or wound lies beneath it? This process often reveals hidden beliefs that have shaped your life in unconscious ways. Perhaps you believed you were unworthy of love, unless you were perfect. Maybe you thought showing anger would make you unsafe, or you convinced yourself that your dreams were unrealistic and should be abandoned. These limiting beliefs, born from shadow material, keep you trapped in a cycle of pleasing others while sacrificing your own truth. But when brought to light, these beliefs lose their power. You can rewrite the narrative and choose new stories that empower rather than imprison you. Another key to harnessing the power of your shadow is recognizing the archetypal energies at play. Jung taught that within the shadow reside ancient patterns, archetypes, that influence human behavior across cultures and time. For example, the wounded child archetype carries deep pain and unmet needs from early life. The rebel archetype resists authority and conformity. The trickster plays with boundaries and chaos. Identifying these archetypes within your shadow gives you a map to navigate its complexity. You begin to see your inner conflicts as expressions of these universal energies rather than personal flaws. This awareness allows you to work with them consciously, embracing the rebel's courage while tempering its impulsiveness, for instance. Shadow work also intersects with spiritual growth. Many spiritual traditions speak of the dark night of the soul, a period of deep inner struggle and transformation. Embracing the shadow is part of this spiritual journey, facing your darkness to emerge into greater light and freedom. This process requires patience. Integration does not happen overnight. It demands ongoing self-reflection, honesty, and commitment. There will be setbacks and moments of doubt, but each step forward brings you closer to becoming an integrated, whole being. To cultivate this transformation, consider developing daily rituals that honor both your light and shadow. This might include journaling your discoveries, meditating on your emotions, or engaging in creative practices that express your whole self. Movement, such as yoga or dance, can also help release stored emotions and connect mind and body. Community support is invaluable. Seek out groups or mentors who understand the shadow journey and can hold space for your growth. Sharing your experiences reduces isolation and builds resilience. Finally, remember that embracing your shadow doesn't mean you surrender to darkness. It means you claim your full spectrum of humanity, with all its contradictions and complexity. This wholeness is the source of true power, freedom, and authenticity. When you walk this path, you become a beacon of light and shadow, someone who inspires others to face their own fears and embrace their true selves. You become unstoppable because you are no longer fragmented but whole,